here to visit. But yeah, let's get back to the
Roxy's our spokesgirl.
Oh, she is. She's our mascot.
Yeah.
She watches hockey with me. Her favorite player is, well, I'm trying to make her favorite player is Nazem Kadri, who also now I think has tied with Connor McDavid for most points in the league.
I think that's correct. I'm going to check.
I wrote in the notes Connor McDavid or Nazem Kadri greater than Connor McDavid.
You're not wrong though. Like really.
Personality wise, I know who I'd rather have a beer with.
Oh no, it's Huberdeau is in the lead. Where did he come from?
Oh, I think the Panthers had a big night last night.
63 points. Oh, that's right, because everybody in Florida had like a 6-point night last night or a 4-point night. For fuck's sakes. Kadri is tied for third, 59 points with Connor McDavid.
Yeah, Kadri's better than Connor McDavid. Prove me wrong.
It is very true. I would never argue. Never ever argue.
But yeah,
Ovechkin, number 5. Oh, I love the stats. The stats are my favorite.
I love the stats too. I love to look at. I checked team standings by points percentage because I am that bitch. But let's get back. We can get back to the goaltending. Winnipeg Jets fans when they play the Leafs. It's like, okay, so I'm going to give a very niche baseball explanation. So I'm a Dodgers fan. Sure. My dad's from LA and Anaheim, so we're Dodgers Angels fans. And Dodgers in the same division are the San Diego Padres. And as someone who lives in San Diego, I'm expected to be a Padres fan. Most people around here are Padres fans. And apparently they have a rivalry with the Dodgers. But I never knew that growing up. I was always like, oh yeah, like the Padres just are kind of there. And like the Dodgers are up here and they're usually a little bit better than the Padres. And the Dodgers brought over their own rivals, the Giants from New York, and they're in San Francisco now. But it's that kind of thing where like with the San Diego was like, our biggest rivals, the Dodgers. And I was like, biggest rivals? What? Like, and that's like how the Jets feel. They're like, our biggest rivals, the Leafs. And we're like, bitch, we got Boston.
Cool.
We got
like Montreal was here way longer than you, buddy, but okay, I guess.
I know. It's like Boston's that legitimately like terrifies us. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like nothing about Winnipeg. They're like, our biggest rivals, the Leafs. And I'm like, what?
Okay.
It's like,
you do you, babe.
It's that whole thing where it's like I feel sorry for you. I don't think about you at all.
Yes, definitely.
Fans feel like, I feel sorry for you. We're like, we don't think about
ultimate Don Draper meme for sure.
Yes.
For sure. But that's also like, it's the Islanders do that too with the Leafs. And we're just like, oh yeah, you're annoying. But like, no, I have more important things to deal with here. More important people to mess around with.
Honestly, I'm not even feeling that negative about Sens anymore. I think they're kind of fun now. They're kind of fun.
Right. They've occupied like a neutral space in my mind now, mostly because like they've had like such meme-worthy season of like sadness and terrible like lucks of the draw. Basically, I'm like, oh my god.
Well,
also the Senators play the Capitals on Super Bowl Sunday at 12:30 in the afternoon. What? Why?
Welcome to the NHL game scheduling.
Yeah, my bad, right? I'm sorry, I got distracted by that. But like, wait, what? Why would you do this?
Well,
good God.
Speaking of teams, critic of the Edmonton Oilers, that's not from a place of dislike. Like, it's not like I'm like, I hate the Oilers. I don't want them to do well. It's more of a place of like, I have been saying. John Mulaney.
She's been telling us for years. It's true.
I am Cassandra. I am. If you're familiar with Greek myth, the Trojan, the Iliad, Cassandra is cursed with the gift of prophecy, but no one believes her. That's her like.
I did not know that.
Yeah, she refuses to sleep with Apollo, and so he's like, "You have prophecy, but no one will ever believe you." So she foretells like the whole like fall of Troy because she's like a Trojan.
Mm-hmm.
He foresees the whole thing. Is like, "Hey guys, like let's not bring Helen in," and like all this stuff, and no one believes her. And so that's like her curse, and that's me with the Oilers, baby. I'm like,
God, I love that.
They were like the
dash of Greek mythology. This is perfect. I love this podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, the hockey gods came down. They're like, she will have the gift of prophecy, but no one will listen. Yeah. And that was me. I used to argue with podcasts. Like everyone was like, "Oh, the Oilers are such a threat," and I was like, "They swept the Senators," but like last year, because like I watched them play those 3 games against the Leafs.
Mm-hmm.
Those games where the Leafs shut them down, like only Draisaitl got 1 assist, and
I think so, yeah.
And there was a bunch of memes about like Justin Hall being Connor McDavid's dad, which I thought were hilarious.
What?
Did you
missed all of those?
I had them saved on my phone. I'll send them to you.
Okay, good.
There was like pictures of like Justin Hall and like Connor McDavid, like they like photoshopped like pictures with Connor McDavid with like a fan with their arm around him or whatever, and like they photoshopped Justin Hall's face, and it was like just his son with his dad.
Oh my god.
But like I watched that and I knew, like I watched that and I was like, they're not good. And I don't know what clicked there. But I just remember like listening to podcasts and I'm like, I don't know, those Oilers, like, you know, they're gonna beat the Jets and then they could beat the Leafs. And I was like, because it was like playoff predictions. And I was like, I don't think they're gonna beat the Leafs. I don't think they do it. The Leafs obviously had other issues in the playoffs.
We did some different stuff. It was all good though.
But I picked the Jets to win that series. I didn't think it was going to be a sweep, but I picked the Jets because I was like, well, they have good goaltending, and if they shut down McDavid and Draisaitl, then they'll win. Yes, hello. And I was right.
Yes, you were.
And then I went to this.
Yes, you were.
I went to the season and everyone's like, oh, their off-season moves. I'm like, what? Like, they got Duncan Keith? Like, Zach Hyman was their best off-season acquisition.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
And, like, re-signing Nurse was a good idea. He's their best defenseman. But they trade away Ethan Bear. And then they don't replace him with another young defenseman. And I write about all this in my, like, Edmonton article, so I don't want to rehash this. But, like, the problems with Edmonton have been there forever and no one's fixed them. And they just keep getting worse, and, you know, you're relying on some patchwork quilting to cover it. So I don't hate, like, Steve Dangle has this joke on Dang It's where, like, you know when a player falls on another team's bench? So he's like, that's how trade should work. You should just, like, get pushed on another team's bench. Now you're part of that team. And I was like, let's just stop Connor McDavid from just jumping on the Leafs bench. Like the next, just going, wee!
You want to hear a spicy take? Right. I do not ever want to see that man in a Leafs jersey.
That's fair. I prefer Austin to him. And I mean that like not in like an actual player way. I just love Austin Matthews as a person.
Yeah, I don't want to see it. And like, I could articulate this next week when I'm not so like fired up, but like, I just don't want it. I don't want to see that. Like if we had, and I know that everybody wants to play for Toronto because it's the hometown team. We were talking about this, you know, whatever. Yeah. But I'm like, Connor, no, like stay where you are. Let's expand. Like, let's just, you do that. You go over there. It's fine. But like, honestly, like, fuck him. I don't want to see that. He would die too. He'd cripple. He'd just crumple under the weight of like the Toronto Sun and the Toronto Star and the Globe and Mail reporters.
Edmonton media is pretty brutal, and Edmonton's
that's true.
Edmonton's a weird one though because they're a small town and they're not small town, but they're a smaller city, and their only sport there is the Oilers. I think actually they have a CFL team too, but
I think they do. Yeah. Yeah,
but like
you're right.
The Oilers.
No, it's that is actually a very interesting like topic in and of itself to see it mutating into this like Toronto-esque like brutally like, are you fucking pissy, Leon? Tell me about it. Like what? Pissy, are you crazy? Oh my god.
Hell, it's not a personal attack on you when your team loses. Like I don't know. I'm not like over like the Avs win, and I'm like, great, I get to write about something positive. I don't. It's not a thing where the Avs lose and I'm like, oh, I'm crushed, emotionally destroyed. And again, I don't get to interview players because the Avs won't give me a press pass. But
yet. We're gonna tag the Avs in this and be like, hashtag sponsor us.
Hey, you know what? The Avs only lost once when I was in the building. It was a preseason game. They've won every other time. So I don't know.
Tireless woman. Come on, Colorado admin.
Put me at the press box.
Hasn't followed me back yet, by the way. God, Colorado. But sometimes they like my tweets, so that's fun.
They commented on my tweet about going to the game for the first time, and my friend thought it was so cute, and I appreciated that. But
they do have a great social media team. I cannot argue with that. Probably one of the best in the league.
Oh yeah, that team is fun. The Avs are so fun. But yeah, I think that the media culture there, I think people make a lot of big deal out of the Toronto market and like the Toronto media. And I don't think Toronto media is great. But I would say that it's okay. I've heard. Oh, hey, Bucks. I'm sorry, my cat meowed.
No, I love.
You have something to say about the Toronto media? What's something to say? What would you have to say?
She's like, screw him.
She's like, I like Steve. Steve is my man.
Steve only, but Steve doesn't write for the paper.
Yeah,
to my knowledge.
And I like I know Steve. Like people have been really anti-Steve this season, and I know why. He's been kind of a negative Nancy about the team, but I think he's earned it.
Yeah, like I mean, like right, like you're allowed to change your opinion or like hold on to. Well, I wouldn't say it's a shitty opinion, but yeah, like I give him. Go ahead, you do you.
Yeah, like honestly,
right?
I think if anyone has earned the right to be frustrated at this team, it's the guy who's been covering them for as long as he has and as in depth as he has.
Yeah.
You know, so
also, sorry, it got dark here. I'm sorry. I'm like lit by my laptop now.
No, you're
super
fine.
sketchy.
It's fully
Blair
snowing.
Witch Project now.
It's fully snowing outside right now. So
oh yay, we love Denver.
Denver.
I think I have that tomorrow.
You're moving there.
No, I think I have like a shitload of snow tomorrow. Sorry, I got distracted.
We're supposed to get another snowstorm tomorrow as well.
Yay, winter.
I know. But sorry, my cat's being crazy. And I was like,
it's okay.
Yeah. So the Edmonton thing, I think there's a lot of markets that have just as tough of media as Toronto. I would say even tougher. But they don't get as much press because I think Toronto media kind of likes to be like, oh, we're the toughest. Like, we're the worst. Are we the worst? Like, that's a Steve Dangle thing, too. They talk about a lot on their podcasts. Like, they're like, Toronto media narrative is kind of perpetuated by the media. And, like, obviously there's some shitheads. Steve Simmons. Shithead. Is Damien Cox? He's also a shithead, too, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. It's so okay. This is like my 2 cents on like the Toronto media is like, this is what I wrote like my thesis on was like, why is it like this? Right? Like, this is crazy to me. And so it's like, it has to do with the fact that it's like, it's technically the Toronto Star is like a local newspaper, but it is distributed nationally, which is why this narrative is so important. Like the Raptors and the Jays and the Leafs become the national, like they become this like pedestal. They exist up here. And so that's why everybody puts so much into these narratives. So yeah, I totally agree. They're like, they'll be deliberately shitty just to sell newspapers. It's wild. It's so wild. So yeah, also, that's why it's like,
yeah, and even to just putting out like Canadian broadcasts and how like they talk about the Leafs versus how American broadcasts talk about the Leafs. Leafs is really interesting to me. Like even like the TNT broadcast, like I remember like I was like, Wayne Gretzky, my dude, because he was like the Leafs are a really good team. And I was like, Wayne Gretzky, my dude! Like,
what a hot take.
I was like, he said it like one of like opening game, like one of the opening games, like, yeah, Leafs are a good team, you know, it's really, you know, they're like, because like Paul Bissonnette's like openly a Leafs fan, like it's something he's talking about. Where and like Wayne obviously is from Ontario, but like the Leafs are a good team. Like, you know, he talked a lot about Edmonton, and I think he used to be close to Connor McDavid, which makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
There. But he's like, yeah, Connor and Leon, they have a lot of pressure to achieve. But he's like, oh, you know, those Stars in Toronto, like I think Toronto's a good team. And I was like, this man. He's like, it's their cup to lose. And I was like, oh, okay, wait.
Oh, dang.
I was like,
that is a hot
like,
take.
I love that. My favorite hockey analyst. But yeah, no, I think the media in Edmonton's brutal. I think the media in a lot, like I don't think Denver media is not bad. Would not say. I feel like I'm the most toxic member of the media because I like to find things wrong with things. Whereas everyone's like, Avs are doing great. And I'm like, but what about all the comeback wins?
Yeah, but what about all the struggles? No, you're perfect.
Yeah.
Your reporting is excellent.
Thank you. I'm so happy you like it. I work really hard on my articles.
That's why we're doing this, because you're so dedicated. I love it.
I love it. I love getting to talk about hockey with you, though, so it's fun. And
it's true.
Okay, so we talked about the Oilers. Let's see what other fun teams can we talk about?
We need to talk about the Flyers. That's what we're wrapping up with.
Ooh, that's gonna
Flyers. Oh boy. So there's no point to panic. They've so far past panicking.
Like, I know. In my panic essay, they're like, "Yes, please panic."
I have to tell you though, the Flyers have, and I used to hate them, right? Because as you said, I'm a recovering Penguins fan. So like that was my rivalry. Like even during like peak Sid versus Ovi, I always loved Ovi and I never like had any beef with Washington, but it was Philly. I was like, fuck these guys. And now I'm like, come here, do you need a hug? Like Dude, your fans are so dedicated. They just sit there and they're like
on Twitter.
They're the best.
I feel so bad for them. Like
they are the best.
Sometimes they're like, again, like I said, sometimes the Twitter takes can get to me, but like I feel horrible. They're so resigned. They're like, oh yeah, the Flyers just like are bad. Like, oh my god, it's so camp with the Flyers. Like they're trying to find ways to make it okay to them.
Yeah, they're so funny. Like the way they've turned their pain into like humor is amazing.
Excellent. It's very honestly, it's very
amazing.
Very Leafs fan-esque, honestly. I think that like Leafs fans finding humor in our suffering is something we do really well.
Right. It definitely is. I think that like the funny thing is like I think with the Flyers is just like ever so slightly like more unhinged, and I think that totally has like there's a weird like gritty correlation there that they created this monster and now they've become it, and it's amazing. I wish them all the best.
I get, like I said in my Panic article, I'm like, you traded away the scapegoat players. Like that's another media market that's brutal. Philly.
Yeah, that's true.
That's another one. US markets aren't much better. Like I think LA is probably the gentlest US big market.
I wonder if that's because like for the most part like people are very like revolving door fans. Is that a fair assessment of LA? I don't really know the fan base that well.
It's a weird fan base. Like I'm not a huge I'm not a Kings fan. And I'm from SoCal. So I wouldn't know. And my dad's not really a Kings fan, but he's a Dodgers and a Lakers fan. And an Angels fan. So I think there are Kings fans though, and they're like big Kings fans. I think that SoCal's energy is much more laid back, I would say. And of the two teams that people care about the most, it's probably the Dodgers and the Lakers. Because I think, I don't know, the Lakers have kind of a lot of like history to them, if that makes sense. Like the Kings have history to them too, and they've won a lot of Stanley Cups, but the Lakers are like, there's a lot of clout in that fan base. Right. The Lakers fan. I think it's because in the sport, right? Like Dodgers and the Lakers are two of the biggest markets and the biggest teams fan base wise in the sports of basketball and baseball. Whereas the Kings don't have that reach. Like you see people wearing Lakers jerseys, you know, or the LA, like the LA logo, the Dodgers logo, that LA, like everyone wears that. Yeah, and that's a Dodgers logo. That's like on the Dodgers hats. Like, you know what I mean? You know, Jackie Robinson, like historic. There's like a lot more reach from, I think, Dodgers stuff and Lakers stuff than there is for Kings. Like, I think it's why we see like Toronto fans travel well. There's a lot of Toronto fans everywhere because it's we're the biggest fan base. And I think for LA, because the Kings are not a small market team, but they're also not like, they don't have the pop culture reach in the sport of hockey. Like LA has the pop culture reach in the sport of like basketball. Now kind of football with the Rams. They finally got football back. My dad's thrilled. Baseball and basketball. So it's, I don't know. That's my experience with the Kings. There's fans and they're very passionate. It's just not the it's not the fan base that converts people to be fans. It's not like, I think a lot more East Coast teams have fans that just kind of are like roped in. But yeah, so back to East Coast teams.
But I couldn't get into SBA Arena if I if I paid for it, I'd be homeless, frankly. Ticket costs as much as my rent at this point. Like, it's terrible.
That's what's nice. Avs games are weird though, because like, man, the game against Toronto was going to be $60 for nosebleeds. Which I know isn't bad.
What is it usually?
Depending, I've seen a lot of bad teams. I've seen like the Canucks,
bad, subjective.
Okay, well, I saw the
playoff run.
I saw the Canucks at the beginning of the season.
Oh, okay,
so they lost 7-1 to the Avs.
Pre-Bruce Boudreau Canucks. It was pre-Bruce. Gotcha.
So yeah, they were not good. And also, so those tickets were $25 each.
$25 tickets.
Yeah,
okay, I don't even. We have to stop this conversation right now. It's only going to make me mad.
But no, these tickets, like any good team coming to play the Avs, tends to be more expensive. Again, like I saw the Blackhawks play the Avs, and those tickets were cheap. The Coyotes ones are like $18 because.
Oh my god!
I know.
Oh my god, that's so funny because you're like, oh man, $60 bleeders, that's expensive. The cheapest I've ever paid for bleeders is like $85.
I heard Syra was telling me that, but like to me, like that was a lot of money for nosebleed tickets. Also, they won't let you down to the glass at warm-ups on the opposing team side at the Avs games if you don't have 100 level tickets. So I made a nice sign for Thatcher Demko being like, your aunt told me to say hi. Also, I'm from San Diego and I'm here to cheer you on. Because his aunt did ask me to put that because she like couldn't go to the Ducks game or whatever, and so she was upset that she couldn't go see him play. But yeah, I got booted.
Got booted out of the lower bowl. That's such a travesty.
I know, they let me go down on the Avs side, but not the Canucks side. I'm like, this is some propaganda right here. Like, there wasn't that many Canucks fans even there. Oh, hello, Rocks. Sorry, my cat's here.